of her relatives sticking it to ExxonMobil today, calling for a handful of changes at the world's largest oil concern, including going green. So what's that about? Tyson Slocum, the Director of Public Citizens Energy Program, says, of course the environment has to be protected, and welcomes the Rockefellers. And Marlo Lewis is a senior fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, says the Rockefellers should just butt out. Good to have both of you. Marlo, you don't welcome this Rockefeller move. Why not?
Well, ExxonMobil is true to its historic roots. That's why last year the company's return on investment was 24%, why it gave its shareholders $35.6 billion in dividends and purchased shares. This idea that that renewable fuels or alternative energy is the wave of the future is ridiculous. We are right now facing one of the worst food crises the world has seen in 30 years, and it's precisely because people like the granddaughter of John D. thought it would be a great idea for government to come along and force the world to burn food as fuel instead of using petroleum, which nobody can eat.
Well,
so
to say nothing of a Rockefeller with Standard Oil routes lecturing anyone on oil, but that's neither here nor there. Tyson, what I'm always saying with even people like the Rockefellers who presumably mean well, and you, of course, you're a decent soul, you can't have a company change what it does because you don't like what it does. I mean, ExxonMobil's into oil. Well, they're not going to start making cotton candy the next day. That's oil is what they do, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, folks like the Rockefellers who own shares, they are owners of ExxonMobil, and they have absolutely every right to say what they want to see done with their money. And so I wish that more shareholders were activists like the Rockefellers, and I wish we saw more shareholder democracy in this country.
But they're shareholders. I do want to pursue Tyson. But the shareholders at a company that makes oil, now all of a sudden they're claiming, we don't like you making oil. We want you to go into something else. That would be like shareholders at Apple saying, we find your iPods and iPhones and iTouches way too expensive. We want you to start going into the cheap TV business. Apple's going to say, hey, this is what we do. If you don't like what we do, don't invest in what we do. ExxonMobil is right to come back and say, hey, oil is what we do.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone's proposing for Exxon to exit the oil and gas business. But there's no question that oil and gas are finite resources. Exxon is not going to be raking in these profits for the next 50 years. They are probably going to, for the next 15 years, enjoying very steady profits.
Well, let them die in their petard if they don't then, right? If they don't do that for whatever reason. And by the way, it's not that they're exploring other opportunities. They're out for the long-term buck. I guess, Marlo, what I'm seeing here is this kind of pushing your will on a company that whose business you don't like or trust, and that's what we're.
Oh, well, it's preposterous. When you look at their shareholder resolution, what they're saying is we need an independent chairman of the board who will do exactly what we say. This is just a power grab, a power play in green
by the owners of the company.
And you know something? The most resource on the planet is good farmland, and I'm sorry, Tyson, but environmentalists have now pushed the world to a precipice where hundreds of, at least 100 million people in developing countries could be pushed below the level of absolute poverty because governments said we can no longer get our energy from petroleum. And I think this trust fund baby that we saw.
Every leading environmental group in the United States absolutely opposes ethanol subsidies, and
now they do. Now, when the chickens are coming home to roost, in 2005, but not 3 or 4 years ago, you all thought it was a great idea. It was the wave of the future.
You will never find any public comments from me at any point in our history where we
maybe not you, but
the benefits
NRDC,
of
Al Gore. I can name a bunch of them.
But the point here is that shareholders who own a part of ExxonMobil are asking ExxonMobil to do a better job of planning for the future. Oil and gas are not always going to be the engine of our economic growth, and it would be prudent for Exxon today to start investing in alternatives
But
like
Tyson,
wind and solar, like hydrogen.
It would be like you telling me, Neil, we don't want you to be a financial anchor anymore. We want you to anchor Victoria's Secret fashion shows. Which, by the way, would not be a bad move. I might welcome
Neil,
that.
do you know that
Exactly.
in the 70s,
I just think that you
ExxonMobil
gotta be
invested
careful.
$500 million in solar?